Hello, and welcome to today's story. In this episode, we revisit the fascinating and often heartbreaking disappearance and subsequent identity controversy of Bobby Dunbar, a young boy who vanished in Louisiana in 1912. This account is drawn from newspaper archives, legal documents, and family interviews. Certain aspects remain debated or unverified, so please keep in mind that some details are based on rumors or theories rather than definitive proof. Viewer discretion is advised due to the emotional nature of the case and references to a missing child. Robert Bobby Clarence Dunbar was born on April 25, 1908, to Leslie and Percy Dunbar, who lived in Opelousas, Louisiana. The Dunbars were a relatively well-to-do family in their community. By all accounts, Bobby was a healthy, spirited child, doted upon by parents who provided a stable home. In August 1912, the Dunbar family embarked on a trip to Swayze Lake, a marshy, heavily forested area known for its challenging terrain. They planned a short vacation to fish, swim, and enjoy nature. On August 23, 1912, 4-year-old Bobby disappeared while the family and other guests were gathered near the water. Details are somewhat unclear, but at some point, the adults realized Bobby was missing. Panic ensued. The Dunbars and local volunteers scoured the lake and surrounding woods, fearing he might have drowned, been kidnapped, or attacked by animals. Despite days of exhaustive effort using boats, dogs, and hundreds of searchers, no trace of Bobby was found in the immediate area. News of Bobby's disappearance spread swiftly, leading to a massive search effort across Louisiana and beyond. In the spring of 1913, authorities received word that a boy matching Bobby's description was traveling in Mississippi with a handyman named William Cantwell Walters. Walters was stopped, and local law enforcement took the child into custody. Walters insisted the boy was Bruce Anderson, the son of a woman named Julia Anderson, for whom he had worked. The Dunbars rushed to Mississippi to see if this child was indeed Bobby. At first, accounts differ. Some newspapers suggest Leslie Dunbar was initially uncertain, while others say she identified him as Bobby almost immediately. Julia Anderson appeared, stating the boy was her son, Bruce, whom she had temporarily entrusted to Walters. She testified he had her permission to care for Bruce while she sought employment. A subsequent legal battle ensued. The courts ultimately ruled in favor of the Dunbars, granting them custody. Walters was tried for kidnapping but was not convicted. The case ended in a hung jury. The boy, now widely referred to as Bobby Dunbar, returned with Leslie and Percy to Opelousas, where the community celebrated his homecoming. The family resumed life with Bobby, raising him as their own. By local accounts, the child adapted well, eventually growing into adulthood under the Dunbar name. Julia Anderson consistently maintained that the child was her son, Bruce Anderson, lacking the financial means and social support to challenge the ruling further. She faced defeat in the courts of the time. She returned to her home without her son, causing lingering pain and unresolved questions. Even among locals, whispers persisted about whether the boy was genuinely the missing Bobby Dunbar. Some pointed to slight physical discrepancies, while others claimed the emotional recognition between child and mother, Leslie, must have been definitive. For decades, the story stood as a triumphant rescue of a lost boy, though suspicions never fully faded. Bobby Dunbar grew up, married, and had children of his own, living under the assumption that he truly was the Dunbars' biological son. He reportedly led a stable life, mostly shielded from the controversy. Family members described him as a devoted father and grandfather. In the late 20th century, some of Bobby's descendants began questioning the old rumors. They decided to seek answers through modern science. In 2004, a DNA test was conducted comparing Bobby Dunbar's son's DNA with that of a known Dunbar relative. The DNA test concluded that the adult raised as Bobby Dunbar did not share the genetic markers with the Dunbar lineage. This effectively confirmed he was not the biological child of Leslie and Percy Dunbar. Consequently, It appeared more likely he was actually Bruce Anderson, Julia Anderson's son. This result validated Julia's long-standing claim, though decades too late to alter the legal outcome of the past. If the found boy was not the real Bobby, the question arises, what became of the actual Bobby Dunbar? Some suggest that the real Bobby may have drowned in Swayze Lake or died by accident in the wilderness. If so, any remains were never recovered or identified. Historians speculate that Dunbars, desperate to find their son, might have genuinely believed the boy they were given was Bobby, especially after an official identification and emotional reunion. Alternatively, some critics wonder if social pressure and overwhelming public support influenced the Dunbars to accept the Mississippi boy as theirs, either ignoring or overlooking inconsistencies. The DNA revelation in 2004 underscored the injustice faced by Julia Anderson, who lost her son in court. She died decades earlier, never receiving vindication. Members of the Anderson family have stated relief at the DNA results, confirming their lineage, yet sorrow that the truth emerged after so many lives were affected. The Bobby Dunbar case has been recounted in books, documentaries, and investigative articles, often cited as a prime example of identity confusion, the limits of early 20th century forensics, and the power of community sentiment. It also demonstrates how desperation and grief can shape legal processes and public perception. This case highlights the importance of modern forensic tools, particularly DNA testing, in clarifying long-standing mysteries. Had such technology been available in 1913, it could have prevented the wrongful separation of a child from his biological mother, and the sorrow that followed for multiple families. While the identity of the boy found in Mississippi now seems resolved, the fate of the real Bobby Dunbar remains unknown. His story remains an unsolved piece of American history. The family genealogies have had to reconcile with a century-old misidentification, a reminder of how fragile identity and familial bonds can be when tested by tragedy and public opinion. The story of Bobby Dunbar stands as both a cautionary tale and a poignant reflection on parental grief, legal institutions, and the quest for truth. Though DNA evidence ultimately clarified who the found child truly was, the real Bobby Dunbar's whereabouts or final resting place remain a mystery. Thank you for watching and learning about this extraordinary case. If you found this overview insightful, please like, share, and subscribe. By examining stories like Bobby Dunbar's, we honor the complexity of historical mysteries and remind ourselves that sometimes, even an apparent happy ending can unravel into deeper questions of identity and loss.